Another reporting from a big manufacturer down for the first quarter, following the other big manufacturer down for the first quarter. In 2023, we're looking like it's not going so well. But there is some good news. Some media giant coming out with some more information, media thing, as well as Pond showing some positive numbers. So hey, let's take a look at this and some local information after this.
I know a guy bicycles hanging out with a guy. This is As the Wheel Turns, So Do Days of Our Rides series. I will be covering topics of the industry as well as consumer views with my 30 years experience.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe.
Welcome to another installment of As the Wheel Turns, So Do Days of Our Rides. Hey, I'm Justin, the bike guy. I know a guy bicycles. Hey, I want to give you my 30 years of insight of what I just came across this week. And I have older installments if you want to check those out. But 2023 is kind of shaping up to be a weird year world anyway. Yeah, we're coming off of the hangover, and actually there was a hard stop in November of 2022 where things are just really kind of taking a dive. And the first quarter is not showing very well for that because Shimano last week is reporting earnings of 30% down. And now Fox Suspension is doing the same thing, about the same numbers, 30% down. That is not really too much of a shocker in a sense because they're all kind of hitting a brick wall or pumping the brakes or seeing the brakes being pumped. And when you're looking at Fox Suspension, that is full suspension bikes, which kind of is the manufacturing portion of it. So when you're looking at those manufacturers and looking forward to Trek, Specialized Giant, Cannondale Pond, all those companies buying or designing and buying parts or getting ready to do their orders into the 2024 line, those are going to reflect that. So 30% down is pretty significant. They're going to readjust for the next 3 quarters. Okay, what's that mean to you? And what does that mean to the industry? Well, number one, I hope they don't overcorrect. That is one of my main concerns, because if they overcorrect and go too short, then we're also shortages again on chains and parts and so forth, as well as bikes. So they got to really make very precise decisions on what they're going to be producing. And hopefully with all the data we've had for several decades of ups and downs and ins and outs and what's the latest trends of like electric bikes, electric assist, gravel bikes and so forth, hopefully they can make those decisions. In addition, I hope that drives the price down a little because, hey, we know it got inflated and some of the prices are going down, but they were going down to what pre-COVID prices were. So we're not fools. We get it, right? Ups, downs, whatever, supply, demand, what have you. But I hope the prices do go down and actually think about certain models are more entry level. Like my niche, they're not going to attack my niche at all because they've been leaving my niche alone, which is entry level road bikes under $1,000. Well, none of them are producing this. I mean, they just can't, the dollars and cents are not to them. So I'm safe for that particular part of my business. But I hope they do kind of bring some of those prices down because they just need to get people into cycling, to be enthusiastic of getting into cycling and also buying that next great bike. So, hey, think about it. I mean, we have a whole bunch of consumers out there that bought a whole bunch of bikes in 2020, and now they're either dumping, didn't get into it, or maybe they are thinking about getting into it, but the prices are too high for the next best thing for them to ride. Well, if they came out with the next model year, I mean, I know sales are great, but coming out with a standard model year, a price points out of the gate that actually is more reasonable, you might get more customers that way. Just saying. Anywho, looking at the correction that they're going to be doing, yeah, we may not see as many models. It may narrow down the field, which I always see as a good thing because being on the backside of the inventory manager, they had too many SKUs. It's just too many for people to make a decision. They need to streamline a little bit. So hopefully that streamlines the inventory, streamlines the actual thought process of putting into this and actually listening to what? The customer. You guys, you people, like the stuff that we buy. So let the customer dictate the actual rollout versus the actual companies making you push their narrative. Just saying. So yeah, looking at this and downward trend, hey, in other words, they're going to have a lot of extra inventory right now, which they do, and they're going to be putting those bikes on sale. Going through the season, yeah, it's just spring. We had a slow spring because it's damn cold out. Now just starting to get warmed up. Spring really hasn't hit for a majority of the United States, so it's just really been a slow roll, and we all been hurting. So you're gonna probably see in the next few weeks some adjustments for sales and so forth. Probably, if it still stays flat, let me tell you what, if it's flat through May, going into June, those sales are going to be just full part. They're going to go crazy. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to warm up. I've been a little bit busier, which is great. So going forward, I think we're going to be just fine. It's just going to be a busier season, but a shorter window. Or we're going to have that longer, warmer summer into September, October, November. Like I said before, if winter hits early, we're done here in Colorado. But hey, I was talking about the low gears, now to the big gear, going up to the big gear. So, Outside Interactive, if I even said that right, announces, well, they're the ones that own Velo News and a couple other news outlets. They're going to actually just do a Velo, magazine media outsource, which is really for regular riders, like people like you and me that ride bikes with e-bikes and that kind of thing. It's going to be kind of a nice little news source that just kind of folds in to addressing the electric bikes and gravel and that kind of thing, which is kind of big because they're actually, a big media company is actually embracing this, and then they're going forward with actual outlets. So apparently there's enough interest with their other 3 major magazines they're going to put into that media outsource. So that's one. And also, Pond is a big buy. I mean, right from the retailer itself, Pound revenue in 2022 increases, Pound holdings are up. Well, they also acquired Dura-Ace. And Dura-Ace Sports is the one that owns Cannondale, GT, Schwinn, and Santa Cruz, Velo, Gazelle, Urban Arrow, and other bike lines. So it's a big purchase. Okay, so not a lot of people have heard about this because Pons is a European company. So, there's like not one big buy for another big buy. So, but anyway, their earnings are up. And also they're buying, guess what? Bike shops like Trek and Specialized. So with that in mind, their earnings are going to go up a little bit. Why? Because they are not going through the independent bike dealers, the middleman person business, to get their actually profits. So when you're looking at Pond, Specialized, and Trek having their own corporate stores, they have deeper profits to work with. And during shakeups like now, they're going to be, obviously they're going to be just fine. They may be a little bit shaky because of the higher interest rates of loans and capital, running capital and all that on the back end. But at the end of the day, they're going to be probably pretty good and sitting pretty after all this is done. So that is the other high gear. Going into consumer news for people like you and me that just, ride bikes and want stuff. So I did a little review last week on bikelist.com. This is the listing service, kind of like a Craigslist meets eBay, but just specifically for bikes and bike stuff. And I did a little trial, looks pretty good. I had a little bit of communications with the owners of it, which is all positive. They're small and they're growing. So it might be an opportunity that if you want to use a transactional layer, not like with Craigslist, which you don't, and not pay absorbent prices like with eBay, it may be an option for you to, in that middle ground. You can do local pickup only or do shipping as well. It might be something to check out. And check out the video kind of review of putting it's pretty simple, easy. They take in the process like Facebook Marketplace is just throwing stuff up and boom and go. As well as Craigslist is pretty simple too. But eBay, you get all these little extra little things in mind. But look, watch the video and check it out. That's kind of a good tech tip to kind of, if you're looking at selling, and it might be just another place to put that bike or those parts and give you an opportunity to move that inventory. I think it's going to be pretty good, but we'll see over test of time. But they have bike knowledge. They've come from a bike shop background, so it has a pretty good chance anyway. So another local thing, and more in the Denver market, Front Range, Colorado Front Range area. So go back in time. Yes. There used to be a bike show called Interbike. My parents used to go to this thing and used to be in Anaheim, California. And I remember they were going to Disneyland and all the bike people were going there. And this was like in the late 80s, early 90s. I was so damn jealous. working in the bike shop. I had a watch name. Back in, September, October, into the season, they used to go on this trip and go see all the new bike stuff and so forth. Well, that got moved into Las Vegas, Interbike. And I went to several of the shows. It's one of those things. Back then, the internet wasn't around. You couldn't get all those resources. You had to go to the show to go see all the stuff in person and all the booths and so forth. And this was really cool and a lot of fun and hands-on, and talk to the reps and talk to the men, see if you want to bring on different products and so forth and that kind of thing. Really a lot of fun. And being in the Vegas setting, that's a lot of fun too. Really cool memories and experiences there. The biggest top note I have on that one is when Schwinn used to be owned by Schwinn, which is owned by Durell, which is now owned by Pon, is they were hitting their 50-year anniversary. And I think they were owned by another company back then. Anyway, they had their 50-year anniversary and they had Elvis's all over the place with a big party and everything. I drank too much or whatever, had a good time. Being in my roaring 20s. That was one of those highlights of, seeing reps and so forth, and kind of cool. Well, fast forward a little bit, and a few years back, they still had Interbike, and I was surprised being in and out of the industry a little bit, and doing my own thing. I went out there under a Retail Toolkit, and we were doing their software thing. And it was pretty cool, but whoa, was it smaller, like super, like I don't know, 20th or 10th the size of the original bike shows I remember back in the 90s. So they shrunk it down. So they're hurting. It's still a fun experience. Then they moved it to Reno for the last year. Then they kind of canned it. Well, they got sold by a company that was doing the big outdoor events, which were in Utah, and they actually moved it to Colorado, which I think they're going to be moving back to Utah. But what they have is like the Big Gear Show. Okay, it's coming up. The Big Gear Show is kind of taking all outdoor stuff, and they've folded bike stuff in there, and the only really bike stuff on this particular one, I think they have 3 shows a year, or they did, or something like that. But they look it up, the Big Gear Show, and they also have the e-bike show inside there, electric assist bike, which would be kind of fun. So this is going to be in June, which, they feature the big blue bear outside the convention center of downtown Denver. So why do I bring this up? Well, as an industry person, I can go to the show, and that's what it was really designed for, and that's going to be on June 8th and June 9th. But here's a fun fact or a fun thing you could do. If you're going to be around in June 10th and 11th, downtown Denver, or you have an opportunity to be in Denver for that, they actually have a show that's going to be open to the public, basically, which is a good opportunity to go in and check out what all us bike and industry and retailers get to see. You get to go in and see it firsthand yourself. It's a pretty cool experience. So you get to experience the buyers of the bike show or retail, buyer perspective on your own, own thing. Yeah, if you have the time to check it out, and I don't think the prices are all too expensive. I think they're like $10 or something like that. The Big Gear Show, it might be something to check out. It should be fun. You can take the kids. I think it's 12 and under is free. So, you can wear them out, run around, get some lunch and so forth afterwards, and just make a day of it. It's actually been kind of fun. The big bike shows, the Interbike back in the 90s, it was like 5 days long. And you needed like 3 days to walk the whole show. It's not going to be that big. This is going to be more of a manageable level, so you can go and cruise through it for one day and kind of check it out. And you might learn some stuff you want to get into or not get into or whatever. It's kind of just fun to see all that stuff. So hey, there we go. That's the consumer news and output. So tech tips. Watch this video here. Yes, I'm going to do a separate segment because this is actually detailing a frame with the tech tip is, what do you do with internal cabling when you're taking everything apart and putting it back together? It's really good little tech tips within the detailed video listed here. I highly encourage you, if you have a bike with a whole bunch of internal cable routing that has cable stop and housing stops that your cable goes through, you want to watch this because I spent hours fixing something that slipped underneath and definitely want to take it out. So that's the tech tip for this week. Finally, springtime's warm. Get on your bike and go ride. Until next time, from the garage.